Welcome to Our Voices, Our Stories, where we are recording the history of gay men living in North Carolina. I'd like to welcome to the table tonight Mr. LeeJones.
Hey, nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Lee, I told you I want to just kick off. You're a traveling man.
Yes,
You
sir, I am.
you love to travel,
Yep.
and you're currently a single gay man that's traveling,
Yep.
which I find very unique in our community. So,
Yeah.
what got you so involved in traveling so much?
Well, it started when my late husband and I realized that we had enough stuff. We've got enough shit in our house. We don't need another TV. We don't need a newer car. We don't need this and that and
Yep.
the other. And so we just started, making memories. And thank God we did, because now he's gone. I had those memories to cherish.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but we got an opportunity to go out to Hawaii one time, and of course, after that, we were hooked. And so we were kind of travel poor there for the beginning, but it was worth it, and made some great memories there, all over the Caribbean, Virgin Islands, Costa Rica, cruises, the whole works.
Wow.
And after he passed, after a period of mourning, I thought, I still want to travel. And he
Hmm.
even told me on his deathbed, he said, Lee, my life is over, yours is not. Travel, see the world. And traveling alone is somewhat daunting at the
I
beginning.
cannot imagine. I couldn't do it, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah. Well, I'm a planner. So, logistically, I had everything worked out so my flights would connect and I'd get to where I'm going. But the main thing that I found was Mr. B&B,
Oh,
the gay booking app.
yeah,
It's basically gay B&B. That's what I
yeah.
call it. Where you stay with a host. So and they're all of my hosts have been gay, so you know that you're welcome, and they're a local.
Mm.
So instead of going to some town or country I've never been to and sitting alone in a hotel room, like, well, I wonder what I do now. I've got a built-in concierge. I've got somebody who says, yeah, right around the corner, there's a great gay bar, and it doesn't even have to be anything gay. It can be, you know, this is a tourist trap. Don't do
Right.
this instead. This area is dangerous. Don't go there. They don't like tourists. And so it's kind of like staying with a family member when you go somewhere.
That's
So
wonderful.
it's worked out. And yeah, the first couple times I was kind of a little insecure, just being alone in a strange country. And after getting back from New Zealand and Australia, I figure if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How was that trip for you? You were there for a while.
I was, yeah, for about close to 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, that's great.
And it was wonderful. I got to see a lot of New Zealand. I'm a Tolkien geek, so I
Okay.
wanted to see Hobbiton, and I saw several other natural wonders there that were just amazing. And then after about a week, I went to Queensland, Australia, and my niece lives there,
Oh,
and
sweet.
she just gave birth to twin boys back in November. So I got to be the gunkle, the
Good.
traveling gunkle. So I spent about a week with them, spoiling the kids. And from there, I went to Sydney, because if you're in Australia, you got to go. And so I saw the highlights of Sydney, and then back to Auckland, and then back home.
So, how is it when you meet people abroad and everything? And you're like, well, yeah. And they're like, what are you traveling with? And you're like, I'm traveling with myself, me, or me, myself, and I, as I say.
Right. Yeah. My multiple personalities.
Right.
No, it's really, I credit the hosts in a lot of instances, because they'll be like, hey, I was thinking about going down to get some dinner or get a drink or something. Would you like to come with me? And of course, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And they take you to places where the locals go.
Hmm.
And that's another benefit, because if I wanted to just sit in the Hilton, I'd just stay home,
Yeah.
because it's so sterile and so Americanized. But when you go to authentic Australian places, you're there with the local blokes and the rugby game's on and you're having a few pints and,
You're picking up all the lingo.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But I meet people through my hosts, or sometimes somebody will strike up a conversation like, hey, are you new here, or where are you visiting from? And in this political climate, I just kind of mutter under my breath, United States. Um, I'm not proud of that at the moment, but at any rate, people are like, they're very accepting, very welcoming everywhere I've been. So
Good.
I've been very lucky in that regard.
Good. Now, when did your husband pass away?
It'll be 5 years in August.
Second.
Yeah.
Y'all were together for how long?
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big part of life.
It really was. Yeah. And he was my soulmate.
Of course.
And when he passed, it was very hard to pick the pieces back up. But again, he told me, he said, live your life and live it well. So
good.
And I've tried to honor him by doing that.
I think that's the best thing people can do when somebody passes is honor them by keeping on going and sharing that love and carrying them in your heart when you're sharing all that.
Right.
I know. How was that, getting beyond that and getting back out into the gay world?
It was tough. I refer to it as my second coming out. Because we had in the last few years, Bobby was sick. We didn't go out. We lost touch with a lot of friends. We had a lot of friends still, but we lost touch. We didn't really have any social circles. And so I guess the following summer after Bobby passed, a couple of friends of mine, Kevin and Rob, said, we're going to a pool party and we want you to come. And I'm like, no. They're like, we know you're going to sit home and feel sorry for yourself. And so come with us. And so finally they drug me out of the house and got me to go to a party. And lo and behold, who's one of the first people I meet? Greg Sullins.
The mayor of Asheville.
And from there, it just worked out so wonderfully because we connected right away.
Right.
And he's just such a sweet, loving man. And I believe that, God, the universe, whoever puts people in your path at the right time.
Totally.
And so through him, I've probably made 30 good friends.
Well, I know that's how I met you because he invited you to a tea dance one time, and that's how we first met years ago and everything. And shout out to Greg Sullins, the mayor of gay Asheville. And I'm hoping that he finally will respond and say, yes, Butch, I'd love to do an interview with you. Now you can't get out of it, Greg.
Exactly. Yep. He's committed now.
Exactly.
I'm committing him for himself. But
now, where did you grow up?
I was actually born in New Jersey and moved south when I was 12.
Okay.
Moved to Hendersonville and went to high school, junior high and high school there. And it was kind of a culture shock for me because, I talk like this and everything. And the people down here talked really funny, and I can still turn it on and off. But
I bet.
But yeah, so it was kind of a culture shock coming here. And at that point, going through puberty, I knew I was gay. And so that was kind of another thing to be frightened of. Yeah. I'm in a strange town. I wonder if anybody's going to suspect that I'm gay and, how's that going to go over? And I mean, back then, Hendersonville was more conservative.
Oh, yes.
Very much so. And the fact now that they have a pride it's so surreal to me. To see a rainbow flag in Hendersonville and it's not on fire.
Right, exactly.
So Hendersonville's come a long way and gotten a lot more progressive. But coming here, knowing I was gay, it was frightening.
Yeah. So when did you know you were gay? What made you think you were gay?
I knew I was gay. Probably when I was 6 or 7 years old, before I knew what sex was.
Oh.
So it wasn't just a sex thing. I remember being a little kid watching the Carol Burnett show and seeing Lyle Wagner on there. And he, his shirt was unbuttoned and the hair and he just, breathed masculinity.
Yeah.
And I just remember as a little boy, boy, that hair looks nice. I wonder what that feels like. And again, innocent, nothing sexual. And so I knew I liked men, and he made me happy, when I saw him. And then it wasn't until puberty that I realized, to my horror, that I was sexually attracted to guys. And I grew up in a very very conservative, very religious household.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told in church that gay people are an abomination, and you're hellbound, and you're a pervert, and anything that Fox News says
Yeah.
about us, I heard.
It's interesting. That comes up a lot with people that I've interviewed in
Mm-hmm.
this, is how the church really influenced us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think back in our generation, a lot of people went to church. It was just something you did as your
Right.
family
Yeah.
thing. And so many of us heard that fire and brimstone kind of stuff, and forced us away from the church. How do you feel about the church now?
I have a lot of scars, and I don't really have any interest in going back.
Right.
I have my faith. God has gotten me through a lot of things, not just coming out, but losing a spouse.
Yeah.
So I know there's a higher power and a greater purpose. But organized religion, there are just too many deep scars. And, I even, at one time considered taking my life.
What was that like for you?
It was tough because I went to a Presbyterian church, the not the liberal hellbound.
I was going to say, which one?
This was the Associate Reformed Presbyterian, which is very conservative.
Reformed.
Yes, Reformed. And so yeah, and most sermons that were just like a discussion like we're having now. They would read from the Bible. They would tell you how to apply it to your life. Well, one Sunday they did a sermon on sexual purity and sexual sin, and homosexuality came up. And the preacher went on a rant and starts pounding the pulpit and hollering, and people in the congregation were amen and lifting their hands, and you didn't do that in the Presbyterian church.
Right.
And here I was again. I was probably 13, maybe 14 at the time, knowing I was gay and hearing these horrible things said about me, and the congregation was cheering him on.
Right.
And it that just crushes the psyche of anyone who is exposed to that.
Yeah.
And it was traumatic for me. And I think back, one of my favorite movies was Prayers for Bobby, if you've ever seen that one.
Yes,
With Sigourney Weaver. And, she played Mary Griffith. And one of the quotes that I love from that movie is, "Before you echo amen in your place of worship, just remember, child's listening."
Yeah.
And I was listening, and it hurt. And, my heart breaks for people who aren't strong enough to pull out of that, because it really does. It cut me deep. So as far as my use for the church, I really don't.
Did you keep on going? I mean, because I'm sure it was a family thing that you all did on Sundays.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, until you finally got out of the house, I guess. And
yeah, once I got to college. Now in college even, I did, some youth group things. We had a Presbyterian campus ministry up at App State, and I was part of that. And I actually was president of the fellowship group for a while. And but it was a more progressive, more liberal group, and just a great bunch of folks. And I was really happy to be part of that.
Good. So when did you decide, okay, I'm just going to start sharing the gay me with people?
I didn't come out till I was 40.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely a late bloomer.
Do you think part of that was because of the religion and the upbringing that a lot of us are brought up with? Get married, have 2.2 children, or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of it was a religion, and but it was also the societal pressures.
Yeah.
Men are men, and they marry women. They don't marry other men. But I did, I made my peace with God years before. I actually had what you would call a mountaintop experience.
Okay.
And I, realized I was gay. I was, just a nervous wreck all the time. I wasn't sleeping well, a lot of turmoil going on inside. And finally, one day, I went hiking. That's one of my coping mechanisms. If I need to process, if I need to just sort some things out, I go for a hike.
Yeah.
And look where we
I
live.
was going to say you're in the best place to go for a hike.
Absolutely. So, I decided to go up Mount Mitchell. If you're going to go big. And
True.
and so I'm, you know, parked at Carolina Hemlocks, and there's a pretty good trail, pretty challenging trail going up the mountain there. And it wasn't a nice day. It was pretty cloudy, kind of misty. Um, but I just had to get out of the house, and I was, I guess, 16 or 17. I had my driver's license.
Mhm.
And so about halfway up, there is a rock outcropping right off the trail that on a clear day, I mean, you can see it's 270-degree view.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
beautiful view of the valley. And I thought, well, I'm going to stop there and have it out with God. And so, I got on the rock outcropping, and it it was all gray. You couldn't see
Right.
anything. It was just gray mist that we all know and love around here. And so I was just out there, and I just said, okay, God, it's me and you. Um, this is the way I think I was made. The church tells me otherwise. Um, I'm here. If you hate me, like I've been
Mm,
told,
mm.
strike me dead. Um, you know, a bolt of lightning, create a strong breeze that just blows me off the side of the mountain, and people just think, oh well, another hiker slipped and fell to his death. Um, and so, I mean, and the whole time warning bells are going off in my head about, thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. Don't put God to the test. He doesn't like that. And I figured, if I'm hated by God, what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I just basically said, here I am, Lord. And I
Take me
just,
as I am.
yeah. And I said, what would you have of me? And I closed my eyes, and I just had this feeling of total calm. It washed over me, and I opened my eyes, and this really happened. I opened my eyes, and like I said, everything was gray. And I looked up, and I saw it looked like somebody punched a hole in the gray, and there was a small patch of the bluest sky I've ever seen.
Oh,
And I just started weeping. It was spiritual.
that was your moment.
And yeah. And I knew at that point I was okay. And I knew nobody else in the world saw that blue patch but me.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. It was very, very spiritual. And at that point, I knew in my heart that I'm okay, and that God loves me despite what I've been told.
Mhm.
So that was when I walked down from that mountain. The the blue sky it went away again. It was just gray, but it was just for a fleeting moment. But when I walked down from that mountain, I just felt 100 pounds lighter.
Wow.
And I felt at peace with myself finally. But as far as my family, my friends, I felt like I needed to do what I needed to do, get a wife, have children, have the white picket fence, have
Right.
the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah. That's what society tells us. And,
yeah.
it's a shame. What would you say to young people now that are experiencing those kinds of things that we went through when we were, impressionable? Those
Right.
early years, not necessarily when you're 5 or 6, but when you're turning into a teenager and you're
Mhm.
really thinking about all of life's stuff, what
Right.
advice can you give to them, you think?
It's and I can't remember who has the slogan, but it says it gets better. Believe in yourself. Um, when you're that young, it's easy for adult me to think back at teenage me, say, be strong, you can get through this,
Right.
you know. But when you're that age, sometimes you don't have the confidence, you don't have the strength. You're scared.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I would tell younger me, hey, keep your eyes on the prize. Keep moving forward, and you will get through it, and it'll make you stronger.
Yeah.
Not to say that there won't be tears, there won't be moments of stress, but
Right.
it does get better.
It does get better, and I hope that people hear that message from everything that I do in these interviews is
Yeah,
that it does get better.
it does.
You just have to reach out
Yes.
sometimes, and
Hmm.
it's hard to reach out,
It is.
especially when you're dealing with those kinds of emotions.
Yeah. And it's, I've always been a do-it-yourselfer,
Mm.
and so if I'm feeling down, oh, I'll just pick myself up, and I don't need anybody. I can do this.
Right.
I'm Mr. Independence. And sometimes you really realize, hey, I need help. I need somebody. And that's what I love about the community in Asheville is we're so connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, if I have a problem, I could call a dozen people right now and they'd be like, they drop everything and come and
Mhm.
help me. And I would do that for them as well.
Yeah.
So circling back around, my second coming out has been very, very successful.
Good.
And I just feel like I'm back being part of the community again.
Which is so important for
Yeah.
all of us, not just, to have you in the community is big,
Right.
but for all of us to get to know each other a little bit better
Yeah.
around the region. And it is a community here. I mean,
It really
it's
is.
a lot of times, and you'll probably see this, like you like to travel to Puerto Vallarta and you like
Yep.
to go to Wilton Manors.
Yep.
And, I think sometimes they're touristy, but they also can be cliquish in some ways.
They really can. And that's what's unique about Asheville. It's because we don't have that. I got a couple of gay friends who live in Charlotte, and they say, well, we have our little group that does this,
Right.
and there's another little group that does this, but there's no real, like, you won't have just everybody come out of the woodwork, for the tea dance,
Yeah.
or for the bear socials or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what really makes us unique. And
Yeah. Cool. We're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, I want to talk about children, your newest grandchild.
well, okay, if you bring that up, if you must.
I know you want to brag, even though they just came into the world a little bit ago.
Yeah.
But we'll be right back with Lee, okay?